Hey guys, this is Pooka and welcome to another edition of Building on a Budget, where we take a look at inexpensive ways for new players to get started in the Pokemon TCG. In this video, we're going to be looking at a deck that's been around for quite a while. It's a very simple, straightforward deck, which makes it especially good for beginners, and that's going to be a Garchomp Altaria deck. So we'll take a look at this deck and break it down piece by piece. Your main attacker for the deck is going to be Garchomp, who apparently seems to be flying with airplanes. He has two attacks. Mach Cut is the first one. For one fighting energy does 60, and then discard a special energy attached to the defending Pokemon. So it's a very solid attack, pretty good. And then for one water and one fighting, it does 100 with Dragon Blade. Discard the top two cards of your deck. It's kind of a nasty drawback, but 100 for 2 isn't bad. It has 140 HP and a weakness to Dragon, so it has actually pretty good stats. But it can't really do it just on its own. 60 and 100, unfortunately, aren't good enough for a Stage 2 Pokemon, so it does need some support. The support for this deck will come in the form of Altaria. It has the ability Fight Song. Your Dragon Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to the active Pokemon. So this allows all of Garchomp's attacks to do much more damage. And it does 20 more for each Altaria you get in play. So, say we get 3 Altaria in play, all of a sudden Mach Cut is doing 120 damage, or Dragon Blade is doing 160 damage, and now we're starting to get good numbers of damage. So we run a very simple Pokemon line. 4 Gible, 4 Gabite, 4 Garchomp, and then 4 Swablu and 4 Altaria, just to make sure we get everything out as quickly as possible. What really makes this deck work is Gabite. It has the Dragon Call ability. Once during your turn, you can search your deck for a Dragon Pokemon and put it into your hand. Its attack is horrendous, but the ability is extremely good, perhaps one of the best abilities in the game even. Every turn, you just get to search for a Dragon Pokemon. So what happens is there's kind of a chain reaction when you get enough Gible and Gabite into play. One Gabite can Dragon Call for another Gabite, which can Dragon Call for another Gabite, and so on and so forth. And you get all of your Pokemon set up very quickly, which is essential for this deck. Because, well, you need to get these Stage 2s out very quickly and start swarming them and attacking with them as quickly as possible. So that's it for the Pokemon line. Just 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. 20 total Pokemon. Pretty simple. We just want to be attacking with Garchomp. Some versions of this deck do play other Pokemon to attack with, but this one's just going to be very simple. Attack with Garchomp. For the supporter cards, we have 4 Professor Sycamore. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. 4 N. Shuffle in and then, or each player shuffles in and then draws a card for each prize card they have remaining. So this will be 6 in the beginning and it'll go down as the game progresses. We have Shauna, shuffle in your hand and then draw 5 cards. Just a very standard, kind of a simple supporter. It's not impressive, but it gets you new cards. And then 3 Colress, shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw a number of cards equal to the number of benched Pokemon. So this can draw anywhere from 0 to 10 cards, and normally bad early on in the game and great as the game progresses. Drawing 10 cards is massive. We do have some other item cards here that are going to help us quite a bit. The first one's going to be Silver Bangle. The attacks of the Pokemon this card is attached to do 30 more damage to opposing Pokemon EX. So this makes Garchomp's attacks do that much more damage. For example, if we have 2 Altaria in play and a Silver Bangle, now we can use Dragon Blade for 170 total damage. 100 plus 40 for 2 Altaria in play, plus 30 from Silver Bangle, and this allows us to knock out popular Pokemon EX, like Yveltal EX, Genesect EX, Keldeo EX. Anything with 170 HP gets knocked out very simply by that. So Silver Bangle makes this deck that much better. We also have 2 Super Rod. We do need these to shuffle in any Gible or Garchomp that get knocked out or discarded over the course of the game. Get to shuffle in 3 of any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile. So this helps because our only attacker is Garchomp, and we need to constantly be shuffling in lines or pieces of the line so that we can constantly get them back into play. You may consider a third Super Rod, but 2 usually gets the job done. We have 3 rare candy. This allows us to skip from Gibble right into Garchomp. That's basically all it does. We only play 3 in this deck because Gabite is so good, so we don't need a ton of rare candy. Sometimes it is nice to skip from Gibble to Garchomp, but Gabite is so good that normally we do want to take the turn to evolve into it so we can get more Pokemon into play. Now we have 4 Level Ball. This allows us to search for any Pokemon with 90 HP or less. Now this is all we're going to play, 4 Level Ball, because the important things we can get are all 90 HP or less. We can get Swablu and Altaria, Gibble, and Gabite. We can't search for Garchomp, but we can search for Gabite, which uses Dragon Call to get Garchomp. So we don't necessarily need any other cards like Ultra Ball or Evo Soda, since Level Ball gets us Gabite, which turns into Garchomp. You may consider running some Ultra Ball or something like that, but again, all you really need are 4 Level Ball. Then the other items we have are 2 Pokemon Catcher. Get to flip a coin if heads, switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with his or her active Pokemon. You get to drag something off the bench into the active spot. This allows us to target down things. Sometimes Garchomp can struggle to knock out some Pokemon, so targeting down things on the bench may be a better route. And then we also have 1 Escape Rope. Each player switches the active Pokemon. It's like a double switch. So this can be helpful to force an opponent to bring out a Pokemon on their bench that they don't really want to have active, so that you can maybe knock something out. It also helps you have a switching card in your deck. And then we also have 1 Dowsing Machine. Discard 2 cards in order to get a trainer card from your discard pile back into your hand. Pretty simple. Allows us to recover our very important trainer cards. For the energy, we have 4 Blend Energy. These are very useful in this deck since they provide fighting and water energy. It's only 1 energy at all times, but it can provide every type. So this is very good since we can just attach this for our fighting energy requirement, or if we have one of these other energy attached already, which we can get to, it can provide the other one so that we can use Garchomp's Dragon Blade. So we want to play 4 of these. Then we just have 5 fighting energy to help us power up Mach Cut, and then 1 water energy just in case we need to Dragon Blade. So that is this Garchomp Altaria deck. It's a pretty inexpensive deck. Overall, if you got all the cards from scratch, this deck would cost about $70. That would be my estimate. And the Pokemon line only costs $15. So, as usual, most of your cost comes from the trainer cards, which is okay since you can swap these out in other decks. Most of these cards are fairly standard, so you just need to buy them once, and then you'll have them for other decks in the future if you decide to go a different route. So this is another budget option. It's always going to be a pretty solid deck. It hasn't won many tournaments, but this is a good place to start in competitive play since it teaches you a lot about the game, and it is a very straightforward strategy. So let's go ahead and take a look at a game with the Garchomp Altaria deck so we can see it in action and prove that it actually works and that I'm not just making this up. Alright, so it looks like I will be going first. I have no basic Pokemon, so I'll have to mulligan. And my opponent does as well. Looks like we see a bunch of water energy, which probably means a Blastoise deck, which is actually a decent matchup for our Garchomp deck. Alright, so we get 2 Gibble in the opening hand. This is going to be a pretty good start for me. And we're going to have to see what my opponent puts out as well. Now, our priority with this deck is going to be getting Gabite out on the second turn so we can search for more Gabite and, start getting stuff out. We would also like to get Swablu in play as quickly as possible, since we cannot search for that with Dragon Call. So, at an opportunity like this, once you have 2 Gibble in play, it's nice to search for a Swablu, so that we can get one out here, and we do need to get Altaria in play to start adding damage to our attacks. I'm just going to go for a Shauna there, very simple. Draw a fresh 5 cards, we'll bench a 3rd Gibble, and then pass the turn. It's important to leave spot on your bench for Swablu. Normally you like to get 3 Swablu in play so that you can get plenty of Altaria in play and really get that fight song going to help out your Garchomp. Usually the ideal field is 3 Gibble and 3 Swablu so that we can eventually get a constant stream of Garchomp along with 3 Altaria in play. 2 Altaria usually is enough, but the 3rd one can help a lot sometimes. Now we see a level ball for my opponent and a tropical beach. So we'll probably see a Squirtle coming out right here, and there it is. So we'll see that go down on the bench. And my opponent's going to use Tropical Beach to end the turn. Alright, so I do have a Silver Bangle here. I don't think I want to attach that until I'm quite ready to attack. So we'll go ahead and play that N. Hoping for a Gabite here, and oh no, we managed to not draw one. It's actually very unfortunate. We have a lot of level balls and 4 Gabite to draw into, and we just didn't draw any of them. So I'm just going to have to use my opponent's Tropical Beach and pass the turn. And that's really brutal. I would have loved to get a Gabite there so we can start threatening Garchomp on the next turn. I don't know, it really hurts this deck a lot when you can't get that Gabite going on the second turn. And you'll probably start to see it here. We'll suffer a little bit, but it's far from over. Just very disappointing that we did not get Gabite on that second turn. We do see a Rare Candy and Blastoise from my opponent, and that means with the Professor's Letter, he can deluge onto the Black Kyurem EX, getting enough energy to use its Slash attack, which will knock out poor Gibble, 120 damage for the weakness. And I have an interesting decision here. I can promote the Gibble with the Fighting Energy, because I do have a Rare Candy in hand. If I draw a Garchomp or a Gabite, we can Rare Candy into Garchomp and knock out Black Kyurem EX. So I think I'll try to go for that. But it looks like that didn't work out very well. The downside of this is I may lose the Fighting Energy on my Gibble if I don't get a Garchomp this turn. So this kind of backfired. And I'm just hoping for an energy off of this Shauna at least. But no, we didn't even get that. And still no Gabite. So far this has been very frustrating. I do have a Rare Candy and a Garchomp, and you would be tempted to Rare Candy the active and then Mach Cut this turn. But since normally we can just knock out Black Kyurem EX in one hit anyway, I'm going to Rare Candy my benched Gibble into Garchomp, and then just Tropical Beach to fill my hand up to 7 cards. This might be a very confusing concept, but I value having more cards than doing 160 damage and just leaving Black Kyurem EX with 20 HP. It doesn't make much sense since any other attack will probably knock out Black Kyurem EX in one hit once I get a Silver Bangle and just a simple Fighting Energy to Mach Cut for the knockout. So with that Tropical Beach, I'm going to fill my hand up to a fresh 7 cards. That'll be very good to give myself some options. And now I'm definitely going to be losing by 2 prizes here, which is pretty annoying. But we can certainly make a comeback, since we are able to pretty much knock out our opponent's Pokemon in one hit, thanks to the Dragon-type weakness they have. Dragons are weak to dragons. I know that changed with the Garchomp EX that came out that has a Fairy-type weakness, but most dragons are weak to dragon, and so they knock themselves out very quickly. We do see a Professor's Letter getting 2 more Water Energy to work with. And we'll see, those will probably go on to the benched Black Kyurem. It is a non-EX Pokemon, so that'll be very good for my opponent to use. Black Kyurem EX, of course, gives up 2 prize cards when it's knocked out, so that makes it a very inefficient attacker against these Garchomp decks. But let's see, we do just see a Slash once again on my poor Gibble. And alright, going to promote Garchomp this turn, and let's see what we can do. I'm going to Super Rod Gibble back in. I like to Super Rod those pieces back in whenever I can. And then we see the fighting go on to Garchomp along with a Silver Bangle. And I think this turn I'm definitely going to play an N. Get 6 fresh cards. And okay, finally, we do get that Gabite. It's not like we play 4 of them or anything. And we'll go ahead and Dragon Call for a new Gibble. And so we can keep getting a chain of Garchomp out every turn from here on out. Thanks to Gibble. Or thanks to Gabite. Well, thanks to Gibble too. But we do have the Mach Cut there for the knockout. And that will allow me to draw 2 prize cards. And all of a sudden we are tied up in the game. And it's not looking so bad. The one thing I'm worried about is a Keldeo EX that can come in with 5 Water Energy and use Secret Sword for the knockout on Garchomp, since we don't have enough energy in play to really respond to it with a Dragon Blade. And we don't really have Altaria in play. We only have 1. We usually need 2 and then a Silver Bangle to do 170 damage to knock out a Keldeo EX. So we're kind of on the back foot here. and I'm hoping that that doesn't happen. We can deal with these Dragon-type Pokemon very easily, but Keldeo is a major problem. Okay, so we see a Skyla searching for a superior energy retrieval. That'll get back a bunch of energy cards so that my opponent can flash freeze for the knockout. And that's actually okay with me. I do have a rare candy and a Garchomp sitting in my hand already, so that's going to work out very well for me. And then I can Dragon Call for a new Gible, and we'll be set for a while. We'll have plenty of Garchomp to fall back on. And we will see a Flash Freeze for 200. And these Dragon types are brutal. And, okay, just a Water Energy on the Black Kyurem EX as well. And there we go. Flash Freeze, 200 damage. Garchomp going down. But you can see here we're actually still in decent shape. I can get a knockout this turn and then probably knock out Black Kyurem EX on the following turn. And we'll still be okay. So first things first, we're going to Rare Candy into Garchomp. And then Dragon Call for a Gible. You can see we're actually starting to run out of those. But that's okay. We only need 3 more. My opponent can only take 3 more prizes, so 3 more Garchomp is exactly what we'll need. And I do have an N here, but my opponent only had 1 card. And I have plenty of energy along with a Silver Bangle. So there's nothing I really wanted to N for. It would only be for disrupting my opponent, which I don't really want to do if he only had 1 card. So I'm just going to hold on to that N, but it looks like that last card was probably a Professor Juniper. But that's okay, too. We'll just save the N for next turn if my opponent takes a knockout on this turn. And it's going to be a very back-and-forth, close game here to finish this out. You know, we were down 2 prizes at the start. That turn 2 Slash took down a Gible, and then we stumbled again. Gible got knocked out again. But now we're starting to get everything going. You can see just how strong this deck is once Gabite comes into play. We can get Garchomp out every single turn and force our opponent to knock out tons and tons of these 140 HP Pokemon. And we do see a superior energy retrieval once again. That should get enough energy out of the Black Kyurem EX to use Black Ballista for 400 damage. I am ×2 weak. Slash is just a little short of the knockout, but Black Ballista is way over the knockout. There's no in-between. Black Kyurem EX does 60 or 200. So there we see a 400 damage Black Ballista. Ouch. Poor Garchomp. He got knocked out twice over, +20. And, alright, my opponent will go down to 2 prizes at this point. This is going to be a crucial turn. I will be able to get a knockout. I actually top-decked a rare candy. Darn. If I would have known that, I would have just promoted the Gible. But, hey, it still works out. I can Dragon Call for Gabite, get that into play. And then Dragon Call again for Garchomp. I might just play the N first. I'm certainly going to play an N this turn. And I can always Dragon Call after the N. It doesn't really matter. I don't know if it matters at all, honestly. I'll just go ahead and do it since Garchomp is not a card I actually want to draw off of my N. I would rather draw other stuff. So here we go. We're going to play an N, put my opponent down to 2 cards, and I'll get 3. I get a Swablu, which is very nice. And then Mach Cut for 220 damage. Going down to 1 prize. And my opponent would need quite a few cards to even think about a knockout right here. I mean, he has 2 cards, no EX in play, just a Blastoise that can really attack. He would need to get all sorts of stuff. He would need probably a supporter, like a Juniper, in order to draw enough cards to get a knockout on this Garchomp right here. We do see an Electrode, which will allow my opponent to magnetic draw up to 4 cards. That's going to be very nice. And a Tool Scrapper will discard Silver Bangle. That probably won't be too impactful. Yeah, I doubt it. But it's going to allow him to draw an extra card with magnetic draw. And we'll have to see. Will he just have to settle for a Hydro Pump? If that's the case, we can go ahead and evolve an Altaria, and I'll just need a Blend Energy to Dragon Blade for the win. If he does manage to get a Keldeo EX this turn, it would need 5 energy. That just seems extremely unlikely. If that does happen, oh, that's going to be tough. I would have to draw a Pokemon catcher in order to win the game then, and then flip heads to knock out either Electrode or Squirtle. But hopefully that N did disrupt him enough to prevent a big turn with a Keldeo EX or something like that. And we're just going to have to wait to see. What will he do? If my Garchomp does not get knocked out this turn, I'm feeling very confident in my odds of winning. We do see a superior energy retrieval. So odds are that's going to go to Blastoise. And we'll just see a Hydro Pump, which will give me an opportunity to win right here. So there are the 4 energy coming back from the superior energy retrieval. And all of those will go on to Blastoise with Deluge. Can attach as many water energy as he wants. And this, again, is going to be a very close finish, but if I can just draw a blend energy, that should be game over. Because I'll have the 2 Altaria in play, plus 40 from Fight Song. Dragon Blade will do 140, and that'll be enough. So there's the Hydro Pump. This should be over this turn. I'll go ahead and evolve into Altaria, and then we can bench another Swablu as well, just in case. I'm going to go ahead and Dragon Call just to thin a card out of my deck. I can grab Garchomp, or actually, I don't even need to do that. I can just Dragon Call for Garchomp next turn. And then I'll just grab a Gabite to discard since I don't need any more Gabite. I'll take a card out of the deck so I don't draw it. And then Sycamore, discard my hand and draw 7. And we just need the blend. Well, looks like never mind on that one. Oh, okay. So now... Alright, well I missed a number of cards there. An Escape Rope would have been a win. A Catcher Heads would have been a win. The Blend Energy would have been a win. But now we're just going to have to Mock Cut for 100, which gives my opponent an opportunity to pull something off again. Wow, that was a very unfortunate Sycamore for 7 cards. Alright, well, it's not over yet. But now this does give my opponent an opportunity to do something with, again, like a Keldeo EX rushing in and knocking out this Garchomp. I would have a very difficult time responding to that, although I would be able to, since my Gabite on the bench already has a Fighting Energy and a Silver Bangle to prepare for it. So we would just need a Blend Energy to win. So this could come down to the wire, but we just see Blastoise getting all charged up with a bunch of energy. And that means all I need is, well, a Garchomp or even a Blend or Water Energy would get a knockout with Dragon Slice. But looks like I will just go ahead and Dragon Call for the Garchomp, get that right into play, and Mock Cut for the win, 120 damage, taking down that Blastoise with a mighty slashing animation there. And there we go. There we have it. Garchomp, Altaria, we were down 2 prizes, but we managed to come back against this Blastoise deck. And hey, Blastoise is one of the most popular decks in the format, one of the most powerful ones as well. Won a ton of tournaments this season, so hey, if we have a deck that can beat that, we always get a shot at a tournament. Just not sure what's happening here. I think I'm just waiting for my opponent to promote a Pokemon so the game ends. This is a feature I really dislike about Pokemon TCG Online. Games just need to end when you take their last prize. But there we go. That's the game. Lots of damage dished out, but at the end of the day, Garchomp stands on top. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will certainly have some more for you soon. I am Pooka from the Top Cut, and I'll see you guys next time.